Oh yeah, baby. So we got a second round of Saw X theories. Thanks to my man Brett Pooley. My man dropped the sickest series of comments. My man said these points of interest. So he wrote these points of interest throughout the franchise that he believes will connect to Saw X. I actually decided to write this all down so I could point by point even wrote down like summaries of my reaction so we could dive into this directly. But I'm also adding some new photos on the side. As you see the photos, the 10th chapter is cutting through time, which is a very interesting tag. Quickly, that could just be alluding to the fact that it's in between Saw 1 and 2. It's double entendres playing off Saw and cuts, and interesting. But yeah, as you see right here, the 10th chapter cuts through time. So does that mean it's cutting through the entire franchise? So it seems this is apropos. And what has accompanied that poster is actually this promo right here. You will see that I took a picture of the actual Twitter post or the X post, however you wanna view it. And the tagline literally is as connected to this video as it actually could be. Because look at the tag. It says the merging of the Saw legacy. The 10th chapter cuts through time. The merging of the Saw legacy. And then the new poster has a Mayan calendar. But if you enjoyed my last video that's almost at 1,000 views, I really appreciate your support and your love for it. So I had to create another video. And again, Brett Pooley's comments are amazing. And you'll see that I put his theories in numerical order up until about, I believe, after 6, where you see conclusion right here. After that, a 7 and 8. And I even added a column for final points just in case I wanted to add more as I make this video. So let's get into it. Let me light my spliff, because if it's Halloween, it must be Saw. Let's get straight to it. Point number 1, Saw 6. And if you want to see the full comment, you go to my last video. It's one of the main comments. It's getting some good likes. It's just a great collection of ideas, and definitely things that I even forgot to mention in my video that that as a longtime Saw fan are things that I have considered and thought about. So I love that he brought this up because it's rekindled some of those thoughts and theories. So it's gonna be awesome. So again, Saw 6. Kramer asking Eastman for a special treatment, but is denied. Also, we see from the Saw X commercial that Cecilia Peterson from the Peterson Project is based from Norway, but operates through her international outreach programs. This appears to be the same organization that Umbrella Health denied coverage for. My reaction is this one, I believe, is pretty unequivocal. Would make the most sense, plus it works perfectly with the timeline. You see confirmation of this in the trailer. So if you guys watch the trailer, there's an article and alludes to her husband. Forgot his name, but it alludes to her husband. So the doctor that John Kramer was speaking about specifically in Saw 6 is exactly alluded to. So that's awesome. This is when he started thinking of the end game. After this scam, he realizes he can no longer prevent the inevitable, which is his death. So he begins his path to his grander game. What would be the purpose of his games if he was able to find the cure to cancer? And a very huge connection to Saw 2 is that incredible question that he posed to Eric Matthews was, what's the cure to cancer? Sounds like a guy who's dig deep. Just his architectural mind, his detail-oriented way of writing, just his thought and his abilities to anticipate decisions of other human beings. Your man would have dug under any rock he could find in Mexico and Brazil, no matter where he had to go, in order to try to cure his cancer. So when he asks what's the cure to cancer, it sounds like a man who's tried the ends all be all of anything he could. So Very interesting there. But again, the question is, what would have been his games had he found a cure to cancer? And I think Brett Pooley's alluded to this throughout these comments, and you'll notice that he ends off on that pretty much on the premise that he believes there's a grander game. Because remember, if you really focus on the timeline, Jigsaw actually has to pivot and test Amanda, somehow test Hoffman. So I'm pretty sure that got in the way of what he actually wanted to accomplish. So the next comment in Saw 5 is very interesting because this is one of the biggest moments where you do kind of, you think, okay, a grander plan, the puzzle being connected. And I always felt this was a huge tease that never really got touched on. So let's keep on going. In Saw 5, at the end of Saw 5, the victims all discovered they were connected from an abandoned building fire. Malik, the one who caught the building on fire, said he was given an ounce of heroin from a dealer to burn the building down and that the dealer just disappeared after the FBI got involved. Who is this dealer and how did he just disappear? Well, FBI is involved. Interesting. That actually is interesting because Peter Strom and Agent Perez, they were part of the FBI. So, very interesting question. It wouldn't have been them, I presume. Um, there's a separate comment that he added. I need you to set up a game. It may not be entirely clear to you right now. This is exactly what Jigsaw tells Hoffman. But I assure you that the people being tested are part of something much larger. They're connected. So in the end, all the pieces will fit together and it will be clear. I've always thought this was going to materialize into something larger, but upon rewatches, I am of the belief that the clarity was the anonymity it offered Hoffman. However, we see a fully remodeled nerve gas house from Saw 2 and Saw 5. So he definitely owns multiple apartment complexes. That's pretty unequivocal. He alludes to it in the next comment as well with Art Blank and that confrontation with Jill in that warehouse. Does Dr. Gordon now own them after Saw 7? Remember, he was given all the secrets, right? And I'm going to allude to the transfer of ownership, it appears to be. Um, the chain of ownership that has all of this has led to. So I'm saying at the end of it all, has Dr. Gordon become the owner of all these multiple apartment complexes, and is that part of those secrets that Jigsaw was supposed to give? Um, does he have properties in Mexico? Right. Does Jigsaw have properties in Mexico? Uh, are we seeing that property exactly in the trailer? Should that be the most of the game? My question is, could the dealer have been Xavier? Especially considering that the needle pit was a bunch of needles and that was supposed to be for Xavier. So sounds like he was dealing that dog food. Any street guy, I'm from the Bronx, so I know a little bit of something about names of drugs, unfortunately. And dog food is one of them. Heroin, fent for modern times. But yeah, it seems like he was selling that. So Xavier isn't a horrible guess. The next comment in Saw 4, in the flashback scene with Art Blank, Jill Tuck's lawyer and John's business associate talks to John about some buildings they were working on. Listen, John, I gotta tell you, those buildings we're working on. You take them. You give my share to Jill, John says. So, as I alluded to earlier, the chain of ownership was essentially Art Blank shared with Jigsaw. Of course, Jigsaw was in a spiraling. He was down a spiral. The pun is intended. So he was going down a spiral. So it goes from John and Art to Art and Jill. Remember that in Saw 4, at the exact same events of Saw 3 and Saw 4, Art Blank is involved in the game. So if you take Art Blank out of the equation, Jill becomes sole owner of that project. Later, I'm going to ask the same question. It seems I do believe I wrote this down. Does she finish the project? Did Art and her even finish the project? That's a huge question. How many abandoned buildings did that leave behind? How much of that was Jigsaw taking advantage of that, right? So that could be part of Kramer's grander plan. And then eventually, of course, with Dr. Gordon taking over the reins, he eventually gets ownership of that. And even in Jigsaw, they allude to Jill owning that farm. So she has things under her name, many things under her name. Another question that Brett Pooley does bring up: did the burn building create the space for the 40 plus apartment complex? Well, that's a question that I'm bringing up. Um, was that project pushed so that, and is Art Blank involved in that? Not only could they build that stadium, but they could take advantage and build this huge, elaborate 40 plus apartment complex project. Not a horrible guess, I would imagine. So number 4, Saw 3. John tells Amanda in the scene before his brain surgery to go get the envelope with her name on it. There are some things I need you to do for me in my desk in the center drawer and an envelope with your name on it. Very interesting. Could it be she was supposed to be given information on the Saw 5 game? Was she supposed to assist in any way? I kind of debunked my own question by saying it seems Kramer gave the game to Hoffman in secret, hence the offer of anonymity, so maybe not. Having said that, did Hoffman follow through with what Amanda needed to do for Kramer, or did he merely replace Jigsaw's request for that letter talking about the death of Gideon by Cecil and Amanda? He could have chucked those plans expecting Kramer to die soon after those events, deeming them useless, or maybe he re-engineered those plans for his own benefit. Uh, could Kramer anticipate that Hoffman would tinker with that letter? Will he do that in Saw X in some way? Like, will he tinker with any point that would start to prick the ears of Jigsaw, get his attention that maybe Hoffman is a guy he can't trust either. His two main apprentices are just not able to really push his legacy forward in a real legitimate way. Also asked, could it be that it was Amanda that was supposed to send those envelopes for Strom and Perez? So is that envelope that she opened up Strom and Perez, but Hoffman, by intercepting, he was able to take advantage and set that up? Not too sure. Just wondering. But it seems like Amanda did have another task to do in the in-between. 5, Saw 1. The fire alarm that Detective Tapp hears on the footage could be the fire from the abandoned building referenced in Saw 5. Could this be the one abandoned apartment complexes, be one of the abandoned apartment complexes that John Kramer and Art Blank were working on together? Wow. That is it's just brilliant, just like I said right there. I never connected those dots and could be alluding to a grander scheme, for sure. Could those events described by the victims in Saw 5 be a game in itself, like where the people who were burned alive in a game that would set off fire alarms around that area that eventually led to Tapp and Singh finding Kramer at Saw 1. So man, that was your greatest one. That was special right there. I love that one. Conclusion. And this is Brett Pooley's conclusion. These points of interest indicate to me that all of John Kramer's subjects are connected to some overarching plot that I don't believe has truly been revealed to us yet. I believe that the twist of Saw X will be the reveal of John Kramer's grand game. What a theory. And I believe this guy is right. If you've listened to some of these, if you've been following the article recently of Kevin Gurder, the director of the movie, he has alluded to the movie touching on things that can be followed through upon in the future, or maybe something that alludes to the future that that can push the franchise ahead. So very interesting in that regard. So this is why I had to add this poster. It's almost like great timing because with that tagline, and it's cutting through time. It almost sounds like it's almost implying like it's gonna do it not just between Saw 1 and 2, but it's gonna cut through time. Like you might see the future. Like you might actually see what happened to Hoffman. You can't deny the tagline in the Twitter post and the X post, the merging of Saw's legacy. What does that mean? And if you saw my last video, you know I did allude to this. If you consider all the movies, even Spiral, there's somebody involved in this one. If there's not a writer, there's a director, there's a producer, there's an editor, they're all involved. So this is why the marketing's been great. This is why the trailer was great. Things have actually been moving. I wanted to just add this little final point. This is not from Brett Pooley. This is from myself. This is from Mikey, Mixed Martial Mag. So the feeling that I'm getting in this movie is that Kramer realizes that his time on Earth is just gone. Especially, I'm assuming, after this movie. After his final straw trying to get an experimental treatment. After this, for sure, he's done. That's why he's so fixated on having a legacy. He's so fixated on asking that question to Eric Mathers, what's the cure to cancer? And his mind is immortality, meaning he's tried everything else. Like that's the implication in Saw X. You see, even after Saw 1, he's trying to live. He's trying to survive. But as his health begins to deteriorate, not only does his plans have to alter to try to prevent Amanda and Hoffman from tarnishing what he's done, he has limited time. So I believe he tried to circumvent his inevitable demise by placing himself in the game by proxy. He's not necessarily a part of the game, but he is. He culminates the game, so he's definitely a part of the game. He even had his daughter. That was a big secret that he kept from Jeff. So he was definitely a part of that game. And my presumption is that he placed himself in the game in Saw 3 to control the time of his death. He always said time is an illusion. He fought to the very end to kill the cancer inside of him. But he got the idea that his death was a foregone conclusion by the end of X. And I'm only presuming, I haven't seen it. In Saw 3, he's not trying to stay alive, but live long enough to play his role in the game. He puts his life and Lynn's in Jeff's hands. He was testing himself as well and his ability to read the human mind. He knew he would die, and it would be key to stopping Hoffman and Amanda from tarnishing any further past his death. But, just like Brett Pooley's been alluding to this whole series of comments, what's his true plan? Because you definitely know he had to pivot to stop Amanda and Hoffman. But what did he really want to accomplish with his goal? Besides just keeping a legacy, which he did accomplish, for sure. And he also accomplished stopping Amanda and Hoffman. And he also accomplished fucking helping a few of these people too. So my man's a successful villain. That's why Jigsaw is where he is. He is not your typical villain that just loses. He's a mastermind. I believe they're really teasing exactly what this video has been talking about, which is what's his grand plan. And could you imagine that this actual Mayan calendar, the way it's moving, opens up and it reveals a whole bunch of secrets and a whole bunch of extra things that we would have no idea about? This series is pretty perfect. Jigsaw's huge mistakes, and that writer I do believe is connected. I do believe that. It seems like Kevin Gruder took over for the timeline management. If you saw that that event, that Halloween event that they all showed up and revealed a bunch of details. So he definitely seems to know what he's doing. He created some of the best sequels. He's been an editor for most of them. The man knows Saw in and out. Kevin Gruder is the man. So I do believe he's gonna hold the timeline's gonna be in good hands with him. And Jigsaw's real issue is it's asserting timelines, like constantly saying, like they said, like I swear, like 10 times, it was 10 years after his death. He's been dead for 10 years, and then my man Logan says,
10 years ago in this very barn, a game was played.
which you could definitely take like he's saying 10, 12, 13 years ago, same shit. But he said it like definitively. So I know there's a director's cut where they can remove some of that, but that would be pretty much all they would have to do. So, but I think CZ's World broke that part down pretty damn well. He just generalized that and that. So besides that, the timeline's been pretty clean and definitive. So I don't anticipate any more fuck ups in that regard. You know what I mean? Well, I'm hoping not anyway. Um, so is there anything I can add to this shiznit? And with these promos of cutting through time and this movie going from one to two, is that a way to keep us focused on that era and not imagine that the twist will be at another point in time? Just that Saul loves to play with time. Time is an illusion in Saul. So how are they gonna play into that in this movie? So that that's gonna be key. And they've been keeping Hoffman tight lipped. Is Hoffman a part of the twist? They're cutting through time. There's merging of the Saw legacy. So is Logan gonna be involved in some way? Is your boy from Spiral gonna be involved in this one? And that's how they're gonna merge the Saw legacy, which, whoa, would be amazing. Will we get definitive proof that they ever found the bathroom? I don't know. But the tagline "cutting through time" just makes me feel like we're gonna be going through multiple points in time in the franchise, not just the one that they told us about. Remember, you just can't take what they tell you at face value. Well, I could just wrap this up right now. I appreciate Brett Poolies. I hope you guys enjoy this one as well. There's so many great points you could look at. So many potential ways that they could tackle many aspects of the franchise. And if you're not as excited as I am, then I don't know what you're doing here watching it with me. We only 22 days away, but I'm a fiend. I'm gonna be there the 28th, so it's 21 days away. 3 weeks for me, baby. 3 weeks from Saw, from them cutting through time, from them merging the Saw legacy. So, woo! Hey, and I just want to end this with a kind of recommendation. If you've never watched any Saw movies, and this is the end of the video, so I don't know if you made it all this way without watching a Saw movie, you would be crazy. But watch Saw 1 and Saw 2 at the very least, so that you're not undercutted by the twist. You know, because Amanda's very pivotal to the trilogy. So that's key. Boom. You know, thank you very much. Hope you enjoyed it. Please comment, like, and share, baby.